I looked at a label, I looked at the calories and the fat. And if they were as low as humanly possible, then I thought it was okay to eat as much of that as I wanted.
Yeah. Same thing in 1999. I went on an ultra low fat, and literally that was my litmus test too, Alyssa, was I turned it on the back, didn't look at any ingredients. I just looked at calorie counts and fat grams. And if the fat grams were even over like 5, I was freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
I treated fat grams kind of like I treat carbs now, as low as possible. And so I naturally gravitated to things like low fat Twizzlers. I love the little string and pull Twizzlers, and 1 gram of carb per serving on that. And then naturally fat free. Did you know? And yes, you do, because you've been there. Marshmallows.
Yep.
Full sugar Coca-Cola, no fat in it at all. It was glorious drinking those.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, this is the thing. People get in that mode of, I need to watch my fat, and what they're indirectly doing is obsessively lowering calories. So they can lose weight no matter what they're eating, even if it's a bunch of crap garbage. You can lose weight that way. But you're starving, you're irritable. Did you have some of those kind of mental health issues going on?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I was growing up, I would have hypoglycemic episodes, and I was told I was hypoglycemic, as if that's a disease. It's not. And so because I lived off of Pop-Tarts and, garbage.
They could have called you BRAT.
Right. And so I always had to have snacks. I always had to have some. If we went shopping with my family would always like roll their eyes, because I was the one who was like, no, we need to eat, and we need to eat right now, And so having to eat every couple hours, it's exhausting, And, you talk about the foods that you gravitated towards. I mean, I remember like 100-calorie packs of, of whatever, and
air is what it was. The 100-calorie Oreos were air.
Right, exactly. And they were awful, but I was like, I'm going to eat 3 of them because it's only 300 calories, right?
Snackwells was my go-to. So I would get their little marshmallow and that chocolate-covered chocolate cookie. And I loved those because it was pseudo good. I wouldn't say they tasted good, but it was
right.
In hindsight, I remember the taste like being very chemically, but that didn't bother me, or very sugary, but that didn't bother me. It was low in fat. That's good enough for me.
Absolutely. And it was one of those things on your podcast, when I listened to it, you were talking about insulin. I legit thought that insulin was something only diabetic people had. Yes. I did not know it was a hormone. Yes. I didn't know how it functioned in my body. Like, I learned nothing of that in health class. I can tell you that right now. And so I listened to that podcast and I just went, okay, I need to do my research. Everything else I've ever done hasn't worked. Why would this work? And so I did research for about a month. I read your books. I devoured your podcast. I started just really diving in. And so I started in June of 2017. And by April of 2018, I lost 50 pounds. That's the most weight I've ever lost, ever. And I am 4 years later now, still 50 pounds less than I was. But I went to the doctor in April of 2018 and my blood work came back and my liver enzymes were perfect. My triglycerides went from the high, almost 200s to the 40s. My cholesterol was great. And my doctor was just like, what did you do? And I said, well, I started this ketogenic diet, and all I got was, well, you shouldn't do that long term. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to keep going because I think that it's working. And so I'm just going to stick with this until it doesn't.
Right. But think about how many people aren't as strong as you are. I had the same thing, by the way, happen to me when I lost 180 pounds on the Atkins diet. He had to do it. And I said, the diet. Oh, let's check your cholesterol. And that's what really got me interested in the cholesterol was, why was the knee-jerk reaction of a patient of yours who lost 180 pounds, obviously was much healthier, suddenly, oh, let's check your cholesterol because I think you're unhealthy. healthy. Like, he didn't say
Right.
anything about the cholesterol when I was 410 pounds, but now that I'm 30, you want to make a big deal about that. To me, the disconnect with the medical system and the abject fear they strike into patients, it scares a lot of people away from keto. There's people that coach every single day. You got to put them back on track again because some doctor got in their ear.
Yeah. And I think too, there's just so much that we don't learn and that we don't know. You know, like I said, once I learned about this, I've never stopped. I still devour podcasts on a regular basis. It's the best way for me to learn. I have 2 children now, and we listen to podcasts in the car. And so rather than listening to music, so my kids are going to grow up learning about insulin and all the things as well.
Yeah.
And
not to interrupt you, but I have some that will write me and say, my kid's a big fan of yours. I'm like, why? And they're like, they hear your voice. When are we going to listen to Uncle Jimmy again on the radio?
That's awesome. And so, you know, I have learned so much about the body and how it works and how there's so many things that go into a lifestyle. And it's not just nutrition. That's a huge part of it. And that's where I always start my clients. But that there are other things that matter in the big scheme of health.
Tracking my sleep.
Exactly. You know, managing stress, which I don't call it stress management because I think managing it is a silly term, because there's so much that we can't control. So I say stress perception. How are you perceiving your stress? What perspective are you looking at the things in your life that you can't control?
I really like.
Yeah. And how do you walk through that? You know, because, you know, if I could get rid of all of my stress in my life, that would be awesome. But I have 2 children. I can't, you know. So anyway, so I started going, and then next thing I know, you know, I had a couple people, what are you doing? And I said, well, you know, I'm doing this ketogenic diet. And so eventually I started a Facebook group for like the 10 people who wanted to know, so that I didn't have to tell them the same thing 10 different times. And then my Facebook group started growing, and it's growing, and it's continued to grow. And I got do what?
What's the name of it?
It's called Compass Wellness Health Journey Support Group. So it's a
Health Journey Support Group. Got it.
It's a very long name, but if you look up Compass Wellness, it shows up. So
do it down there. So for people.
Yeah, thank you. And so eventually my husband finally was like, so when are you going to start like really coaching people? When are you really going to start doing this? Like, you know, I would say, oh, I'm going to go to this thing, or James, I really want to go to KetoCon. And he was like, okay, can we write that off on our taxes? And I was like, I'm sorry. And so I finally, in the midst of a pandemic, started my certification with the Primal Health Coaching Institute. And I finished in August of 2020, right smack dab in the middle of everything.
Mark's
yeah.
Amazing. Yes.
Yes. I love his work, and I really feel like that was an excellent coaching program, because it doesn't put me as a coach in any one specific box. So on my Instagram, I'm carnivore-ish. I also say like I'm a casual carnivore. I am a meat-heavy keto person, but I'm gonna have an avocado.
Can we get into that? Because I know it's a pet peeve of yours as well, of this dogmatic keto approach. It's happened since I came on the scene in 2005, that if you're going to do low carb, you're going to do Atkins, you're going to do paleo, you're going to do keto, you're going to do carnivore, you're going to do Whole30, whatever your poison, pick one. It's this way. And anything out of this way, whoever came up with this way, anything outside of that, you're not this. I just think it's so silly. Now, nobody's saying have a steak and Twinkie and Coca-Cola. That's on nobody's keto plan. But if you have a steak and that's all you eat, good for you, carnivore. If you have a steak with some avocado, good for you, ketovore. If you have a steak with some broccoli and cauliflower and a salad, good for you, keto. Like, let's stop. And one more. And if you have the steak and all those vegetables and a sweet potato, good for you, paleo. Like, why do we have to have the butting of the heads of all these camps when we're all talking the same language, real food.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, some days I'm keto, some days I'm paleo, some days I'm carnivore. So far today, I am carnivore-ish. I've had bacon, burgers, and coffee.
And let's add fasting in there as well. If you want to skip a day, or if you want to go 18 hours without eating, good for you, intermittent fasting.
And that's one of the reasons we chose the name Compass Wellness, because in reality, everybody's compass is different. Everybody's journey has a different destination. What works for me may not work for you, or your goals. You may have completely different goals than I do. And there you go. And I want you to do what's best for you. And whatever box you fit in, great. And if you jump around into different boxes or you visit different camps on a regular basis, that's fine, as long as it is contributing to your goal and your journey.
Well, and here's the thing. I get it. People like to identify with something. I think it's within our human nature. We like to be a part of a collective. So when we have a conference, we go to Keto Con, Keto Fest, Low Carb USA. I mean, I could go down the list of all the big conferences, the low carb crew, all of them. And so we come together because of that. And yet really the label thing is not helping us other than identifying each other. Like if I hadn't been keto, I would not have been on Shailene's show. In other words, if I had just eaten that way but not really put a label to it, how would she have found me? So I get the benefit of the identification, but I do done Compass Coach, and plus it kind of makes people go, okay, if I'm lost, I can come to you and have my compass. Yeah, in a way, yeah. If you're kind of lost, wondering, I got you, right?
Yeah. Well, and also too, the word compass stands for all the facets of our program. And so we also were able to kind of create, this program. And so C is commit to yourself.
Okay.
So setting your goals, what is it that you're looking for? What do you want? Do you want to just lose weight? Do you want your health markers to improve? What is it that you're looking for when it comes to our time together in this coaching relationship? And then we go to optimize nutrition. And that is where I spend the bulk of my time with my clients. But from there, the others are movement, play, assessing your mindset, sleep and sun, and stress perception. And just like we say with the compass, from after we work on the nutrition portion of things, you get to decide, where do you need to focus on? Because I may think we need to talk about movement, but really you need to talk about sleep. And you need to talk about ways to optimize your sleep, because if you aren't sleeping well, then you can't move because you're exhausted. And so I allow my clients to guide me and to let me give them the tools and the things that they need where they're at right now. And I think that when you do that and you include all of those lifestyle factors, that is where you experience true health. If you only fix the food, it's not enough. If you only fix the sleep, it's not enough. Right. If you ignore stress and you try and just shove it under a rock and pretend that it doesn't exist, it's not going to work, and I have seen that on more than one occasion. Everybody's like, I'm doing all these things right. I'm doing all this stuff. And I was like, okay, well, how many things are you doing? Maybe you're doing them too hard, And so we really feel like, and I say we because my team is not just me, but it's me and Lindy Bolsterbaum, Keto Teacher Mom, and then Terry Barrios, who's my ketogenic family on Instagram. And the three of us have come together to do group coaching things together, but also we just feel like we all bring something to the table, and we want to help others exactly where they are. If you need overall stuff, I'm your girl. If you want to get muscles, Lindy's your girl. If you want to learn how to cook, Terry's your girl. I'm not the cook at all. And so we just really want to be able to help others live their best life, whatever box or whatever camp that is.
Well, and I would even say on top of COMPASS being an acronym, you could actually add in ET, phone, home, emotional stuff, and unresolved. So
Absolutely.
I know that's in your heart as well, of a lot of the people that come to you that struggle, that still have ongoing, despite doing all the compass principles and everything, they're coming back, and Alyssa, not working, you kind of dig deep